Oh, shit.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Dead Funny Review Show. I'm your host, Chris. Join me today, my co-hosts, Kelsey, Cody, and Bree. Bree, what's going on, guys?
Let's get talking about this. Let's just
I'm not ready for this shit.
So,
People be hating.
Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, review. All spoilers coming your way. So if you haven't seen the episode, get the fuck out. But also,
Fuck up.
if you went and saw Avengers Endgame, there should be that review show there right now, so you can watch that and then go watch the actual episode of Game of Thrones and then come back and watch this. And there you go. You're all caught up on your Dead Funny news for the week. Boom. Anyways, just to go ahead and give a tad bit of a spoiler alert for the cast here, I'm pretty sure Bree is the only person that's given this episode the great graces that she feels that the episode deserves. So, I guess we'll go ahead and start with you, Bree. How'd you feel the episode was? 0 out of 10.
I think the episode was a 10.
Jesus Christ. Good Lord.
How did it get that rating from you?
You know, Kelsey, I'm glad you said it, because I'm like, kill the beginning of a friendship here. Like, I really met you guys. And then
He
it's
just
like,
wants to end a friendship.
it's like three recordings in with Bree, and I'm going to really say.
Oh, man.
Okay, so like the major characters weren't gonna die to begin with, so I didn't have expectations like that. Like, people are babies. People are babies, and when they lose their favorite characters, they fucking flip out. So I did not expect major characters to die. So when I going in with that expectation, I was like, okay, so I just want it to be a really good battle. I want it to be good scenes that get me on the edge of my seat, and I think that they did that really well. I was worried Daenerys maybe could die, because, you know, the little part inside of you that's like, well, they still could do it. I was worried for Jon Snow, and I thought that the battle scenes were really epic. There's a little cheesy moments in there, but I loved the part. I mean, I feel that Arya was a surprise for me when it came to killing the White Knight. What's he called? The White Knight?
The Night King.
Yeah, Night King.
The Night King. That was a huge surprise, and I thought it was a super badass moment too. So I think overall they did a pretty good job with the battle scenes. It was a little dark. It's a little hard to see, but I was on the edge of my seat the whole episode, and to me that's a really good episode.
See, I think I totally agree with everything you said for the most part. Like, I thought Arya was dead. When she missed that jump, or when she, like, didn't get him with the first hit, I was like, oh, Arya's done. Like, she's dead. And I was like, no! It's like the one character I didn't want to die. And then when she did that knife drop and then caught and did the stab, that was cool, because that was set up with her fight with Brienne, where they, like, spar against each other, and she, like, is about to get hit by her, and she does that same, like, trick. And so I was like, oh, that was awesome that she, like, as soon as she got caught, like, there was that little moment that's like, oh, it's fine with Brienne, you know? And I was like, so I thought that was great. I actually loved that part of it. And really, I would say that all of the deaths that they had, I didn't think were done poorly. Like, because I agree with you at some point, there are some characters that it's like, well, the show's been really about them, so they're probably not going to, like, senselessly kill them this late in the game. Like, they're not going to bring Jon Snow back to life and then kill him right now, like, meaninglessly against a wall somewhere. So, like, I get that, but the deaths that there were, I thought they did a really good job, specifically for Lyanna Mormont?
Yes, her death.
Her name's Lyanna, right?
Awesome.
That was a great scene.
Yeah.
That was well done.
And I was literally saying it as it was happening, too. As, like, he was bringing her up, I'm like, if she fucking kills him, this is going to be the best fucking death this episode. It's going to fucking be. And she just stabs him in the eye, and I was like, fuck yeah, little lady, let's get it. Fuck yeah. I was so happy about that.
Badass to the end.
Yep, she was a beast.
She's gonna be a freaking legend. And I was actually crushed by that scene, because I was really looking forward to the spin-off of her learning how to rule as an adult.
Yeah, that's true.
And because she's gonna go from cute lady that just like speaks truth into everything, that everybody's just like, yes, you could say these things, you're a kid, so you don't really know why you shouldn't, into becoming an adult and actually having the consequences with that. So I was pumped for that spin-off, and like her figuring out, oh wait, I have sexuality, oh wait, because it's HBO, so you know that's gonna happen. And her like growing up and figuring out like, wait, whatever my sexuality is, I also need to like I need to carry on my like I need to get married, I need to do that, and like for her deciding that, like I was pumped. So when he just crushed her in his hand, I was like, God damn it! I was so mad.
Yeah, that was actually your prediction too on the fucking before Game of Thrones review show when I said everybody gets to pick a spinoff who you're gonna do, and that's definitely who you picked. Yep.
God, I would have loved that, man. It would
Fucking
have been
sucks
so cool.
to suck, nerd. Got her.
Nerd. I mean, nerd. You could be talking about anybody in this cast with that kind of a statement. So try harder. Rude.
Oh man, the one person.
Wow, way to rope us in.
Like I got the death. I get it. Like I think we all get it. But man, did it look dumb towards the end? But fucking Ser Jorah's death. Like it went from I'm valiantly or I'm goddamn I cannot talk tonight. I am protecting
Valiantly?
you. Yeah, yes, I am protecting you. All right, I'm gonna die protecting you. To literally, I'm just throwing my body in front of every fucking dagger that
How
comes
many
your way.
times can you get stabbed?
That
I
was
mean, there was literally one scene where he
Weird.
literally like threw his body to the left to catch a fucking sword for her, and then went back to fucking fighting. And I was like, what the fuck?
thought I saw her pull him in front of her.
That would be a straight up Daenerys.
I was shut you. I was a little thrown off guard because I was like, did Daenerys just grab him and use him as a meat shield? Like I thought I saw.
I mean,
her, like,
emotionally,
grab
that's
him.
exactly what she did. With all of her actions and words, that's what she did to Jorah. See, Jorah's death to me was kind of like because I think what he wanted in life, so he kind of like got what he wanted, which is why it's like, well, you like had a death wish and you've already kind of died once, so I'm like, well, you,
for her, yeah.
yeah.
Fair.
So I'm like, well, you kind of got
I mean,
exactly what
I
you've
didn't want
always
to be
wanted.
that guy, but I mean, like I said, to me, like, okay, so I know I said this a while back, and you weren't on that, but I said that I completely didn't know that him and Lil Lady were related at all. I didn't think about their last name or anything, because to me, he's always been like Mr. Friendzone, like that's who he was. He was a friendzone guy. The entire time that shit was happening, and like she's sitting there holding him and stuff, I was like, at least flash him once or something. Give him a kiss, anything. Like, fuck, man. This dude has done everything he possibly fucking can for you.
No, he's got that chaste love.
Not a boob. It's her sobbing over the top of him as she loses him. Like,
Yeah, she needs to like sing a song about him, and then like
I don't know
he's
about
like
that.
a classic knight, you know.
I don't know about that. I mean, if I was in his way, I would have been like, I mean, at least
Good Lord.
once. Come on.
I think in the books he's a little bit starey at times. Like there's like some chapters from his perspective where he's just like staring awestruck at her beauty, but you know she's supposed to be super pretty, so that makes sense. Oh shoot! Oh, the one for me.
Damn.
That
Cody throwing some straight shade at Emilia Clarke. She's supposed to be pretty, but
no. I mean, in the book she described it, so it makes sense that he would like notice. I was not a dig against any actress. No, the death for me that I thought was just kind of like, why did they do this? Because it was cool, and then it wasn't. Was Fire Sword guy whose name always escapes me.
Yeah.
Can anyone help? You know,
I just call him the Lord of Light Servant.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
There's
I
like
call him Eye Patch Dude.
Yeah, there you go.
so an eye patch dude, Lord of Light Servant, whips his sword, and then he's getting stabbed, and he like has a Hodor moment where
We're like
standing in this
holding him. Yeah, he's holding him back.
like
Yeah.
holding the archway, and I like almost expected him to pull a Samson and like rip the stones down and like catch on fire. And then it's just like, no, he just crawled through the door like a dog and just bled out on the floor in front of them. I'm like, why didn't you just stay back there, dude? You looked really cool, and now you're just like, let me in too. Like, you're not making it, man. Like, come on.
That, but
Oh,
he
forgive
went.
him for dying.
He died
Yeah, he's
bad.
gonna die either way. But like
Jesus, he's
he-
critiquing his death.
I am.
he went on the other side of the wall with them, right? Whenever they went and
Yeah.
So it's like
Mhm.
in my state of mind, like, yeah, it sucks that I'm dying, right? But if I die on the other side of the door, I'm directly putting them in harm if I get raised by the fucking Night King. You know what I'm saying? Like, why did he choose to do that? Like, that would have been my first thought was, like, if I die on the other side, like, I'm going to possibly kill one of them. I don't want to do that. Like, that
well, if
that
there's
death
anyone
makes sense to me.
They would have the presence of mind to, like, kind of plan their death strategically. It is that guy that has died 7 times or whatever,
Right?
you know? It's like,
Right?
you've died so much, dude. Like, you should be a little bit better at it by now.
Oh,
Like,
man.
die, like, in a heroic pose or something. You've done this a bunch. You've had practice, you know? But,
So,
no.
my only issue that really came into play was, like, I felt like Danny and John both going after the Night King was unnecessary. I feel like they could have saved a lot of people, and could have saved a lot of Winterfell if one of them, just one of them, would have stayed back to continuously do nothing but light the trench. That's all they had to do. That is literally all they had to do.
Carnage. The writers wanted carnage. They wanted to show that there's barely anything they could do.
Sure,
Like-
I'm saying it was poor planning. I don't know who's.
I didn't
poor
mind-
planning.
We can
Poor
easily pick this apart.
Oh, for sure,
Like,
100%.
You
They
can
wrote it
pick
the way they
anything
wanted
apart, but and overall, it was still good.
to. Oh, I mean,
Can I speak to that real fast?
go ahead, hit me.
'Cause I think I walked away from the episode going, it met my expectations for greatness. It did actually meet what I was expecting this episode to be, like what I would have been okay with this episode being. I was genuinely really looking forward to having my expectations blown out of the water by what they were going to be able to do. And I feel like that's just because they've delivered that again and again and again. And I walked away from this episode where a lot of the major moments that they wanted to hit didn't hit with me. And I was concerned it was only me. And I've been talking to the people, not only me. And so what I went and I did is I watched the episode that they release afterwards where they're like, hey, this is how we made this episode. And it was really, that was revelatory for me because all of these moments hit with the actors and the other cast and actors that were watching it, like that actor do that scene. So there was a moment where like Sophie Turner started sobbing when we actually see Sam crying. That was just him. That wasn't scripted. They ran out of extras to throw at him, and his character was so exhausted that he genuinely just started crying. And so it honestly felt like the cast started acting for the cast. And so everything that they had to say about their experience of filming this and watching each other film this, they're like, that was so impactful. It was just, this was everything. And it seems like they were acting for each other and writing for each other and directing for each other. And they're making this insular thing. The problem is I just ended up on the outside of that insular thing. And so I think it was really valuable for Amelia Clark. I think it was really valuable for Kit Harington. I think it was really valuable for a lot of the people that were in it. It just wasn't like it just didn't hit me the same way it hit them. Does that make sense at all?
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Makes
And
sense.
I think that's an interesting thing to think about, like, art in general is, like, is there art that is meant to be enjoyed by the doing of it and not by the viewing of it? And I think that gets true, too, especially for, like, small casts that work together for this long that they, like, become a family. So this is, like, a big moment for them. My issue, like, I will say this. I am a person who will ignore a lot of plot holes and a lot of technical things if the reason that the episode is here works for me. And my biggest complaint with it was not so much technical things, which because of this now I'm more willing to critique. It was that, to me, it subverts what made the book series and the show interesting, which is that, like, and I kind of said this before we started recording, to me, the irony of the title Game of Thrones is this was a book series and a show about the futility of the Game of Thrones. Like, everyone playing this game is villainous and stupid. They are ignoring bigger problems. They are killing hundreds upon thousands of innocent people to try to put themselves on a throne that means nothing. Meanwhile, nature is coming to kill all of humanity. And the whole show was about people not figuring that out, like just ignoring it and killing each other and ignoring it and killing each other. Like, we can't let the wildlings through. They're the villain. Like, dude, they're just more people. Like, you just get your stuff together. Like, oh, well, you can't do this. You're not the king of this castle. Like, who cares? Like, and that's why I like Jon Snow in this a little bit, is that he's just like, I don't care who's king. I don't care what you call me. There's dead things. That's all that matters. And now I feel like the actual climax of the show is going to be Daenerys finally getting to be like, I have become the... Like, I don't think you should be... No one should be the queen of everything. Queens are bad. We've all decided this. Like, it's hard for me to have, like, this heroic, like, oh, I'm so happy that... Or, like, if Jon Snow sits on the throne, I'm like, you shouldn't. You should not be allowed to do that. Melt the throne. Get rid of it. That's the whole point, is that this is bad. This system led to us ignoring the end of the world, to the consequence of most people's lives. But instead, I'm just like, Cersei was right. Like, Cersei was totally right. They're like, come north and help us. And she's like, no, that's a northern problem. And she was totally right. Like, I'm on Cersei's side now. Like, yeah, let him kill them. It's not my problem. Turns out she was totally correct. And I'm like, it seems weird that Cersei was right. I don't
know. Everything that happens in writing isn't always best applicable to movies or viewing. A good example of this is Twilight. So while the books were really, really good when I should say when I was young, teenager. While they were really, really good, when I watched it on the movie, all I saw was creepy, obsessive, emotionally abusive fucking man stalking a female. And I still like the movies, but what I'm trying to say is, like, it's not always the best to fully copy. And also, a lot of people would not be happy with everyone just ignoring the walkers and allowing people to die, and they have a lot of people satisfied. I think it was a big mistake for them to not kill off someone major.
Yeah.
That being Brienne of...
Yeah, Tarth, yeah.
That being Brienne or Jaime or Tyrion or Sansa. I knew that Daenerys or Jon weren't going to die, but of one of them seemed kind of like a mistake because it was so amped up and made it seem like they were going to kill off someone important.
Yeah, and I think this is also something, and this is side, and this is also somewhat bad on the advertising for this, is that this was like hyped up. Like, this was like, this is going to be like the battle to end all battles. This is going to be this big, huge, crazy thing. And then it just wasn't that. And like, not that that means it's bad. It was not Helm's Deep by any stretch. And that's what it was compared to in the advertising and the media that reported on it. Is like, they based this on Helm's Deep and they looked at that for inspiration. And I'm like, it's not that. They didn't do that. They did not achieve that scale, which it's unfair to assume that they would. It's a television show.
Yeah, that was literally my biggest issue with it as well, is because, like, we literally have been listening to the fucking Starks say winter is coming since episode fucking 1. Winter has finally showed up.
They've been building to this battle since episode 1.
And that's why I refer to it as, and obviously this has nothing really to do with the movies that much because I'm a fucking comic book fan, but this is my Age of Ultron. Nothing happened. Literally all this fucking talk, and it's like nothing happened. Like, I did not expect them to be beaten.
Something happened. But do you think their mistake was making it one episode?
I think their mistake was making it in the middle. This should have been the end. And it should have happened at a lot more consequence to the people that were...
Yeah,
I fully expected everyone to fail. Like, I thought that the North was going to fall because that she ignored this problem, there were not enough people there, and they could not stop this from happening. And I thought the North was just going to collapse. Yeah. And that it was going to be, like, debatable whether or not they could even bring this back. You know, like, that's what I was expecting from this series. Yeah. Was that, like, humanity didn't get its act together and stop this problem. That, to me, is what the book series is about. And that would have been really tragic and horrible. And I acknowledge they couldn't, like, I saw people theorizing that dies, and it's like, they're not going to do that. I understand it has to have a somewhat happy ending, but I think it should have at least had a bittersweet ending. And I feel like stopping the Night King should have come at way more of a cost than really none of our main characters. You know what I mean? Because now I'm just, like, really stuck in this thing of, like, man, I just, like, don't think it's worth killing yourselves to dethrone Cersei, who's going to be dead in 40 years. Like, what's it matter? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've removed this gigantic enemy that the very first scene of the very first episode is like people finding evidence of the White Walkers moving again. Like this has been everything. And so Jon and Daenerys have both been like, this is the battle, this is the war that actually matters, this is the war to end all wars. And it happened not only in one episode, which was one thing, but if you think about it, it happened in a couple hours in real time, like in their time, because it was dark when the episode started and it was dark when the episode ended. It took a couple hours to kill the Night King. And that's a huge enemy that they've removed for the rest of time. And it's just it didn't come at enough consequence. This is a show about consequences mattering. And yeah, there was not enough death. I actually, anticipating huge amounts of death, I cooked a cake. And I had this like, no, I know that sounds stupid, but I host a ton of people at my house for these episodes. I made this triple layer like black and red velvet cake and filled it with like strawberry stuff and these things that look like intestines but are made of marshmallow and are really delicious. And like I covered it in this thick dark black icing and then sprayed it bright gold. Cody, you'd like this. I sprayed it with this edible gold so that way from the outside it looked beautiful and perfect, and then you carve into it and it's this mushy black death that does not look like something you want to eat.
Okay, one, that sounds cool. Two, if I went over to your house and saw that while watching, I would not eat it because I would assume you were poisoning. Like, there is no way that this set piece cake is not filled with poison or like the severed head of my incest child or something horrible is inside of this cake.
Your
Man,
incest
it
child.
was perfect. It was perfect. I pulled out that first piece and like this white and red ooze covers over the black and red cake, and I'm just like, I have.
Did someone die at this viewing party?
Amazing. That's for sure. It sounds amazing.
Guys. And I felt like I wasted it. I'm like, no one died. Like, I made this for, like, Theon. Like, this was
that,
or, like...
Easily the best part of the episode was Theon dying.
What?
Because I hate Theon. I was so happy. I was like, fuck yes. Like, literally, when they showed him getting ready to stop the Night's Watch, or the Night's Watch, the Night King, fuck. When they go to show him stop the Night King and all that, like whenever the first like foot zombies are showing up, when the first foot White Walkers, like there were so many of them crowding them, and there's like 8 archers. I was like, they're all dying. Every single one of these motherfuckers are dying. That is happening. Oh my god! And then whenever he literally goes on like a 50-yard straight run at the Night King, I'm like, he's fucking dead. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. You had so much better of a chance standing still, waiting for him to come to you and trying to take him on a hand-to-hand combat than giving him literally 10 minutes to think of 50 different ways to fucking kill you.
Like trip and fall here, like not even get that.
Oh, that would have been great.
You know what's funny? Bran could have waited and said, "Hey, no, hold up, Theon. You don't have to go anywhere," because he knew what Arya was gonna do.
Yeah, right.
Even Bran
He
was
let
all like,
Theon die.
that would have been even better if like he died and then like the Night King died and like the end of the episode, Bran just looks at Theon and goes, "Payback's a bitch, motherfucker." That was great. That would have made that episode right there. That would have been.
That was another one that to me felt like he kind of had a death wish. So it's like, well, it's like sad that you died, I guess, but you were basically suicidal by this point.
Yeah,
like,
for sure, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
sacrifice himself to save Bran like redeem this thing that he felt horrible about. And that was true for like.
We have 2 guys and two ladies on this podcast. I'm just saying, or on this review show. I'm just saying, if my junk got cut off, like, I mean, that's pretty much the end of it for me. Like, you might as well sign me up on any fucking like suicide mission out there, because that's the end. Like, I'm done. I'm not Chris anymore. Call me fucking Reek or Rek or whatever the fuck his name was. I just send me out there to fucking die. I'll kill everybody I can on the way out. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Theon's life has been like a spinning door of misery and like jokes.
It has.
Like, holy crap.
It's been terrible.
Let's all take a moment to realize, one, that Theon's life has sucked at him, and then he has sucked
Yeah,
life. It's just both.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, remember that time he came home and he's like, yeah, and then he meets a hot lady, and he's like, I'm gonna feel hot lady. And then, like, 30 minutes later, he's like, that was my sister.
Yep.
Oh, no!
One thing I think is really cool with him, though, is they did actually, like, this is horrible, but we did get to see him not be a Stark and be uncomfortable in those first couple of seasons with the Starks, where they're like, yeah, you aren't one of us. And they did hold him at arm's length. Like, he was there, he was safe, he was allowed to hang out, but he was at arm's length, and so he knew he was not a Stark. And
Yeah,
so
he was
he
a
had to,
political prisoner.
yeah, he had to put on a different personality and be a different person because he couldn't be like the Starks because he wasn't one of them. So he became this cocky whoremonger. Then he goes home and they're like, yeah, you're not one of us either. And he's like, well, who the hell do you want me to be? And so he spent so much time trying to play, like, just grab different personalities and be like, will you love me now? How about if I'm over this guy? Will you love me now? Will you love me now? And then just kept finding out, like, no one will love you if you're trying to fake something. And then it's like, you need to go and figure out what actually matters to you and then do that. And then whoever accepts you, that's who you are. And it took him so long to do that. And in the process, he got so horrifically, tragically broken to the point where he didn't exist anymore. And then he had to put the pieces back together, surrounded by people who still loved him technically, but also kind of hated him, specifically Yara. And the fact that he went through all of that, like, he deserves major credit for, like, the emotional crap that he went through right before he died.
Well, even him
a
and
lot of credit for
Sansa.
losing his dick and living through that.
I mean, yeah, both things are important. We just don't talk about the mental side of it at all, and we probably should.
No, I think that Theon is like a good case study, and the Starks are stupid and always screw themselves over.
Whoa.
Where it's like,
whoa.
they-
The back dog.
no, look, I'm sorry. Do you know whose fault all of this is? Ned Stark for not listening to a way.
Look,
All he had to
Stark
do-
a mission, and that was to figure out how that one guy died, and then that mission led into, oh my god, Baratheon's got a bastard, and then that
No.
led into my head got chopped off.
Ned Stark had one mission, which was prepare for winter coming, and he bungled that in the first episode when he beheaded the only guy that knew. He killed him. It's his fault because he was stubborn.
Would that guy really have done anything else? I mean, I don't think we would have fucking. I highly doubt fucking Baratheon would have took the word of a fucking traitor, as what they call him, that the fucking walkers are walking.
Well,
And some
no.
fucking armies and legions. It would have literally been like Ned Stark, come on North, let's go, and then the Starks would have been wiped out by episode 5.
Well, but I will say, like, before they fought in a bunch of stupid wars, the North, the contiguous North, is like the strongest, like, kind of separate kingdom in all of Westeros. They're like the biggest power,
But
and the
enough to
most
beat the
united
White Walkers.
one.
I mean, the only advantage they would have had was that they wouldn't have had a dragon, but neither would fucking the Starks.
No, and I mean,
They would have been
I guess
overpowered at some point.
my point is, Robert Baratheon was a bad king because he wouldn't have listened to Ned Stark when he told him about this. Ned Stark was a bad ruler because he didn't listen to his vassal. Is that the right word for
Yes.
slave, basically? But just nicer. Sorry, yeah, you know, it's about that time when basically everyone's actually just a slave. But
Yeah, pretty much.
you know, you get beheaded for leaving work. That's pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, he screwed up. Like, that was his mistake, and so was Theon.
That's
Like,
that's that old school workman's comp right there. Like, fucking good to go on that one. Yeah.
Back to the episode. What did you guys think about Tyrion and Sansa's implied love?
Like, I don't think it was we should be together. I think it was them realizing that Sansa's not a dumb little girl anymore who's focused on, like, I just want to be loved by the prince and wear the pretty jewels. Like, I know why she had that time. It was a good time. It was an important time for her, and she grew out of it. And now the person that she is somebody that Tyrion respects, and he is someone that she respects, because now she realizes, like, I judged you for being a dwarf, and I should have judged you for your character, and your character is exceptional. And so I feel like both of them had that moment where they're like, we could have been okay. when we'd grown up and been better people, because he's also gone through it. Like, he decided to stop whoremongering and things like that, like personal
Right.
development for, and I don't think it was we're falling in love with each other. I think it was an acknowledgement of like, you are now someone that I respect. I think it was more of that.
You know, I'll say this for like, there was that little moment, and really hoping they get together. Just because, man, it'd be nice to have one romance that it's like, I like all the people, and it's not incest. Awesome! I want one of those!
Yes.
And also one that isn't creepy. Here's looking at creepy Arya. Creepy seduction of Gendry?
Gendry.
But, yeah, no, I kind of like hope they do in some way, because it's like, really, though, who else can understand them? You know what I mean? Like, they're very unique, and they very much now have experienced some very similar things and have grown in a very similar way. And I'm like, I don't know, I think that'd be kind of like a nice thing for them to like realize that like, oh shoot, like we would have never expected this to work out, but things change, you know, and they grow.
Yeah.
But at the very least, I agree with you. It was a moment of respect between those two characters.
I'll definitely say that I'm the only thing, and I don't even like saying this because this still gives that character too much credit. The only thing that sucks about Theon dying is that it kind of breaks my whole thing with like how him and Sansa were kind of like getting some alone time, and I was like, oh, what if like Theon and Sansa turn out to be a thing, and then this whole thing where it's like Arya slept with Gendry, and then she gets pregnant, and then she has like a kid, and then she's got Gendry, and he's possibly still got like a rightful claim to the throne, and then she becomes like queen and has kids, and then Sansa ends up falling in love with Theon, who doesn't have a dick, so therefore she can't have kids, and she has no claim to any kind of throne, and it would literally be exact opposites of what they were in the first season. Where Sansa was all, I want kids, and I want to be a queen, and da-da-da-da-da, and Arya's like, yeah, fuck that shit. Like, not it would have been fucking crazy of a change, but no. Thanks a lot, Theon. You ruined something else. You fucking glad you're dead.
Oh, man. Poor Theon, though.
Thank God there won't be a Theon the Greyjoy spinoff. Thank you, Lord.
There could be like a prequel rom-com, or not really rom-com, just
no.
Sitcom about him like accidentally,
no,
you know, like sleeping with two prostitutes at the same time, or like, you know, bounce between two parties.
No.
You know?
No. Anybody at HBO, if you're listening to this, please disregard all of that. We don't need any.
You don't want like Theon the Playboy of Winterfell spin-off show?
No.
Please, God, no.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Maybe Jon Snow.
There was way too much Theon to begin with. Now, right, this next episode will have the perfect amount of Theon in it for me. Like, the perfect. It'd be great. I'm excited. That alone.
If there's a whole bunch of flashbacks to Theon in the next episode, I'm gonna die.
Be fucking livid. I'm literally just gonna text you and be like, God damn it, Kelsey. It's gonna be your fault. Oh man. I was excited. I mean, it just really sucks. Like, I felt like I was let down. I mean, it's not enough to make me not want to watch the show anymore, because I'm definitely gonna watch the show until it fucking finishes. I mean, fuck, we got like 3 episodes left.
Well, I'm definitely finishing it. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm like less invested.
What would you rate it though?
Oh, like if I was to give it a rating?
Out of 0 out of 10. Here we go. Just
oh gosh.
You're gonna hit me with that high 10 again, high 9.5.
I need to mentally understand if you guys truly hate it or you're just being bitter little ass wipes.
Jeez.
Okay, so it's hard. So if I was to rate it, just like 10.
Yeah,
like,
don't you give me hard shit after calling me an asshole.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I felt bad about being harsh on horrible things, but I don't know, like, as an episode, standing alone and not looking at it as what does it mean for the context and the theme of this show, it's like, it was a 7. It was like an average fight scene, I would say. But as like a, what does this mean for the show at large, which is my much bigger problem with it, it's like a 4 to a 3. Where to me, it like kind of, it fumbles the end of this show, which is going to be, it's going to be make or break for whether the show is good or not, is the end. It all hinges on what is the message of this show called Game of Thrones. If it is just a power fantasy about becoming the king or queen of everything, I could not be less interested. If it is an interesting look at how people ignore larger problems for the sake of petty infighting, I was invested. But that's kind of what they've gotten rid of now, so we'll see what happens at the end. Maybe I'll be surprised, have been before by this show, but right now I'm like pretty... it's just kind of became average.
Cersei ignored the problem. She abandoned everyone. So isn't that still kind of a message that she's most likely going to get what she deserves?
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, she is villainous, and I'm sure...
She's a bitch.
She's probably going to get supplanted, and one of our, like, noble heroes is going to take the throne, but that's not a unique story. That's, like, every fantasy ever is... Like, that's, like, boilerplate fantasy right there. It's like, there's an evil king, and then we dethrone her, you know? It's like, yeah, okay, I've seen, like, whatever freaking Snow White, you know, or Snow White where that happens. I'm sorry, so here's the part where you realize I have not seen any Disney movies.
It does happen in Snow White.
Yeah, it's like...
Already realized.
But like, so if it's just like Snow White with more steps and more violence and more gratuitous nudity, I'm just not that interested. You know, it's like, whatever
It's
then.
not Snow White. Come on now.
If Cersei's just an evil queen and all they do is just kill her and then everything's happy, yeah, it kind of is.
Well, once again, though.
I feel like what I'm hearing is you guys watch one episode and you're like, down with Game of Thrones.
Well, when it's the end, yes. When it is the climactic end of the thing, yes.
Once again, we gotta remember, though, and this, you weren't on this episode, but, I mean, to be fair, when we look at Cersei's character, everything she's done is to protect herself or her children. Until both of her children died, she really wasn't that bad of a character. She did stuff that was like, kind of questionable.
Yeah, but same stuff everyone else was doing.
Exactly.
And actually,
the only villainous aspect of her was that she just had this urge to ruin Tyrion's life. Like, that was like the only
it was very
her.
personal.
Yeah, that was about it. So she's really not that bad of a character as far as to call her the evil queen. Now, since then, that's up for debate.
Yeah, you remember the time that she murdered all of religion?
That was the point. It was after the whole Septon shit happened.
Yeah, after she blew up her own city.
Yeah, after that, it was pretty much like bets off. Like, I mean, you literally had her butt-ass naked walking through a street with people spitting on her and shit like that. She had like absolutely zero fucking choice in the matter at all. So, I mean, it was pretty much after that. I mean, if you're going to have me walk around naked and people are spitting on me, like, people are dying. That's happening. I'm killing people. I don't know how, and I don't know how many, but people are dying. So I don't really blame her for that one too much. Although she did kill Marjorie, which I'm very upset about because I love Marjorie. Natalie Dormer is amazing. But other than that, I mean,
I think that was actually like a good little moment. You know, we're talking about. But when they're like have him on trial, and he's like, "I'm not sorry for like getting Ned Stark stabbed in the leg," and he's like, "And I'm not sorry for killing all of you people. We were at war, a war that you guys kind of started. So no, I don't feel bad. Like we were on opposite ends of a stupid squabble." And I like that the only person he apologized to was Bran for pushing him out a window, which was like, yeah, okay, that was pretty bad. Sorry about that.
I will say this.
I tried to kill you.
Yeah, going back and watching the older episodes, because I've been doing that recently, is like, Jaime was such a fucking douche.
Yeah.
Such a fucking douche.
Jaime and Sansa.
It literally made me realize. So that's the sad part. Like, I mean, I agree Sansa was a douchebag. I wanted Sansa to die more in the later seasons than I did in the earlier seasons. Jaime, I wanted him to die so bad early season. Like, now that I'm going back and watching it, I'm like, I wanted you to die so fucking... Like, I remember being happy when his hand got cut off. I was like, fuck you! Yes! Like, I remember being happy about that. Man, what this show has done to us as a civilization, where I'm clapping for someone getting fucking, like, literally disarmed. Like,
yeah, and then you end up loving that character. Jaime is so great.
I'd say love, like.
Oh no, I think Jaime's like one of the best people. He's like right there with being like. I think one of the only people who actually wants things to get better in the kingdom.
Yes, and this is the person that thought my favorite character was Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, because she's one of those other few people
Yeah.
And then Tyrion.
Let's all fucking throw a fucking parade for the dude that rapes his sister. Yeah, let's fucking do that. Yeah.
He's come a long way from that point, though. Like, I hate having to
Murder,
protect the
rape,
guy that raped his sister,
murder,
but
rape.
man,
Incest.
yeah, no, he's
Kelsey's
done
like, he came a
horrible
long
things.
way.
He's also,
To
no,
me,
he also has realized these are horrible things that I sucked, and I don't have to anymore. I can be a better version of myself.
to me,
Well, and also someone else who was ruined by the
Kelsey's
Stark.
like,
Jamie Lannister again, just ruined by the Starks.
I don't like Cody. I don't like Cody.
I'm sorry, like 90% of this stuff
fucking
is
shade
Stark's
at the
fault.
fucking Starks. You need to calm down. The
They're
Starks have been,
stupid.
the Starks have been literally fucked since like episode 1. It's been nothing.
Yeah, they
but
deserve
death.
it.
Fuck you.
There's a
Absolutely
reason.
not. Absolutely not.
so I'm not alone in this. So now you put someone else in my team. Thank you.
Oh, what? Do you not like the Starks either?
No, that's not what I mean.
Oh, you mean you like the? Not the bad
No,
guy.
I like Daenerys Targaryen.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I had this whole thing. Kelsey saw this message where I said I think should take over the world because they're a city of free slaves who were, by the way, freed slaves from who were the predecessors to the Targaryens. So screw the Targaryens; they're awful. And they're like have a democratically elected king. They don't enslave anybody. They don't go to war ever. All they do is protect themselves and have the coolest people. I'm Team Bravos. Everywhere else, I don't care.
I would have a really hard time giving this episode a rating because after watching the actors talk about what it meant for them to make this episode and everything that people put into it, I would hate to give it a negative rating because they did 3 straight months of night shoots to get everything. They like all of them were like, we're not gonna lie, our bodies never adjusted to shooting at night. We never ended up in a place where we were like, oh yeah, it's 10, I'm ready to go to work. Like it was always hard, it was always miserable, and by the end of it we were psychologically and physically exhausted and felt horrible. So knowing what everybody put into making this episode happen, the idea that I can sit back and just be like, it didn't meet my expectations was like, I'm like, oh, fuck up. Like that's what I'm saying to myself in my own head. Like they pushed themselves way past their limits to try to bring me an epic fight scene. They worked so hard to make sure that when in an hour and a half long battle, the largest battle that has ever been on screen, that they went, we don't want you to get battle fatigue, we don't want you to get bored, so what we're going to do is we're going to split this battle into 3 pieces. The first piece is going to be suspense, and that was the whole beginning where they're like, the scariest part of a monster movie is when you don't see a monster, and so you have the Dothraki ride out and you know they hit the wall of the dead, but you don't know where the dead are. Like you can't see the dead, you still can't see them. And so they tried to make this like suspenseful thing, and they did a great job. And then they shifted into battle, but then they said we need to give the audience a break to just change it up so their attention will stay. So now we're going to make it the horror movie part of this, in Arya disappearing into the library, trying to just get away from her, realizing like, no, I could actually die here. And now that I'm Arya, not nobody, I'm not cool with that. And so they made that whole horror movie section, and they like the guy that leans down and looks at her under the table, they got this crazy guy that is like triple jointed in all of his joints and moves in this really weird way. They pulled him in intentionally because they wanted him to look like he didn't have muscles and sinew and was actually dead. And he did an amazing performance. And the first time I watched the episode, I didn't notice him. Like, I didn't see him as like, oh, wow, he's doing a great job of being dead. Once I knew what they did, I rewatched it and was like, oh, wow, he really does an incredible job of like falling apart into this particular moment where he's looking under here. And I wouldn't have seen that. I wasn't paying attention to that because I was just waiting for somebody to stab someone in the eye. And then they switched into more of this epic battle where they're like, we did concentric circles that we went through and to get through the outer, the trench, and then the outer wall, and then the inner walls that they set up. And they planned so much of this, and they did a great job for what they were trying to do. They accomplished what they were trying to do. I just wasn't expecting what they were trying to do, so it didn't hit me the way it was supposed to because I didn't have all their background information. So I feel really terrible giving this a bad rating because it's not their fault that I had high expectations. Does that make sense at all?
It makes sense,
But is it
just
high
because-
expectation or is it specific expectations?
It might be specific expectations. I was anticipating consequences and death, and I didn't see that. And that is something that I love about the show, and I do think they need to realize that. But since everything's all been shot and written, if they didn't realize that, there's no way they're going to fix it before the end.
Yeah, they only got 3 episodes left.
And
Yeah,
they've already shot. That was shot a year ago.
I will say
I
this.
agree with Kelsey on that one. Yeah, it's like it's not the actor's fault or like the fight choreographers or anything like that. Like they all did fine. Like a lot of the stuff in this was good. It was in the story what this battle was and what it does to the story. I think is the problem, and
Yeah.
that's like it's not the actor's faults that that's the way it works out. You know what I mean? It's the writers and directors who planned this story and in some way maybe missed the mark for what this should have been. Because, like, I would say that you can dump $1,000 in 1,000 man. I said 1,000 money for a movie, which is like nothing for a movie.
Especially
That was
You
like
can dump millions of dollars and millions of man hours
I
in
was about
something.
to say, fucking, it's
just
so
a-
much on just this episode alone.
Yeah,
Fucking-
if it's just a big CGI punch fest, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's like you could have had like a named character die in an emotional moment with spending no money. You know, just like them in a small fight. You know, could have been more emotionally impactful than having this big grandiose thing that just didn't have those emotional moments that for me it needed to have. Like it had some that were good. It just wasn't enough to match the scale of the battle. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Now, just because Kelsey has went on this like higher path that she's trying to walk on right now, I got to be that guy, just like I am in the DFUs, where I love a reality where it's more along the lines they shot it, and then the director's like, look, there's a chance that this episode might not be as good as people thought it was, so we need you guys to like fucking record a pity party, please. Like, talk about there was no room service. You guys had to stay up for like 2 hours past midnight. Like, I mean, we need you guys to really bring on the fucking tears. I love that. That's great.
I guess to me it's like compare it to Helm's Deep, right? And to me the moment of Helm's Deep, the point of that huge grandiose battle and seeing that castle crumble was the point where you see Theoden just go like, there's no point. Like, why are we even fighting anymore? You see Theoden lose and like be emotionally broken by this thing, right? You never really you see that with the Hound, but then they're just like, no, Hound, rally and be okay.
Oh, yeah.
That was really weird.
About that.
I
The
love it.
entire time I was watching that happen with him, and he was literally not helping anything, I was like, fuck you, Kelsey. Like, you fought for me for so long about the Hound's got this whole, like, redemption arc and everything, and he did nothing. He didn't do shit. He didn't do nothing.
No,
he stood
he
around
got
watching
scared.
people die. Fuck the Hound.
No.
Fuck the Hound.
No, I'm fighting you.
No,
I am fighting you
Fuck
on
the
this.
Hound.
No, the Hound has deep psychological scars from being shoved in a freaking fire when he was a child. And no, the Hound's coping mechanism is being brusque, and everybody hates him, and he has gotten no love his entire life. So the idea that he's going to emotional connections and like actually it's not going to happen.
The Hound
So
fucking
he's got
sucks.
Nope, shut up. He's got these deep emotional scars, but he's decided to attach to a couple of people and protect them and take care of them and be honorable, even though people just look at him and be like, you're the terrible bad guy. He's like, fuck you. You have no idea who I am, because every time he gets the chance, he is honorable. He is good. He had that moment.
Well, except for
He
the
was
part where he like killed a little
Shut up.
kid.
Bad moment for the Hound. Bad Hound. Totally agree. Bad moment.
Or the part where he killed all the
Murder
peasants.
and rape.
Up. So he's sitting there going, we're going to lose. We're going to lose. This is going to be horrible. I am facing death. And then he remembers, wait, I actually give a shit about some people, and she's one of them, and I will get over my goddamn fears,
Wow,
and I will go
he
help
didn't
her.
remember.
I was
Someone
gonna say
had
he
to
didn't
tell him.
realize anything. So
Yeah. He was not like, why don't you
Bullshit.
tell her that? And then he's like, oh my god, Arya! I like how you talked that up like that
praying.
was all him. Like he was standing there like, I'm gonna die. But wait, where's Arya? I must protect her. That is not even close to how that fucking scene happened.
He was like, remember her, and she's fighting for her life. Like, she's about to die, and he's like, shit, I have fought for her so many times. She's not dying while I'm in this goddamn castle. Like, that was what he was thinking, and that's what he made sure didn't happen. So, and looking, he when it was dead or chasing him, he's surrounded by the dude that's got the fire sword and keeps waving it around, which, you know, he's so happy about. He's looking for Arya to protect and take care of Arya. Finds her, protects her, takes care of her. That is his character.
He was around
Nope.
the fire sword. Fucking
Love-
he sucks.
Love the Hound.
I thought it was a weird moment. To me, it didn't fit his character. He wasn't afraid of the fire. He was afraid of the walkers.
Yeah, I agree. That was a weird thing because that was what happened to him at the Battle of the Blackwater, where it wasn't that they were losing the battle. It was the fire that Tyrion used freaked him out because he can't handle fire.
Right,
because he got his face shoved in the
outside,
fire.
and then he went inside, and then he was helping them fight on the wall. But it was the moment that people started dying on the wall, and the wall was getting overrun. He was like, "Hey, big guy."
Yeah,
That fucking
I'm gonna
Winterfell
die.
didn't have
How
any goddamn tissues.
I'm not saying that
How
people don't get scared of dying.
Dare he gets scared of dying? How?
Yeah,
How
when
could
you've
he?
got
He
It
this
was
is a
so
little out of
fucking
character.
bad.
Whenever you got these
It was
fucking,
out of character.
all I'm saying is we got the Hound hiding behind a fucking wall, and we've got fucking little lady standing up to a goddamn giant.
Yeah. Little
Yeah.
lady also hasn't been stabbed in the stomach and left dead, and then had a
matter.
redemptive story
matter.
where they were
Look at
found and
her.
saved and haven't had to do that again.
Exactly.
She has
She
been
didn't
like,
even have
"I'm
that, and
fierce,
she's still
and
fucking
everybody
balled
thinks
out.
I'm cute."
Exactly. She didn't even
And
need
everyone
that.
thinks I'm cute.
That's all she's got. She's like, I'm fierce, everyone's cute, and everything has gone well for her so far. She hasn't seen consequences. She hasn't experienced deep emotional, tragic, horrible scars. Like, she hasn't had that.
Doesn't
the Hound
matter.
has.
Look
He
at her
totally doesn't
age.
care.
Look at his age. It was a goddamn giant. Kelsey, I'm
Kids
27
are
years
crazy
old.
brave.
I'm 27 years old, and I would have pissed myself before I even thought about fucking trying to attack that fucking thing. Like, there is no way in fuck she wasn't scared. There is no way in fuck she wasn't terrified.
I think she was like done well and handled. I think my issue. I didn't hate what happened with the Hound. It felt okay. It was just like not big for me. I didn't have like this big.
I don't
like,
hate it. I just don't care because I don't like it.
yeah.
And
I love him.
Kelsey has been like,
I
Chris,
love
the
him.
fucking Hound is the best. And then I saw him
Nope,
hiding,
love
and
him.
I was like, look at this shit right here. Yeah, fucking number one
Love the
Hound. I'm fucking hide behind these walls right quick, watch people die, not do shit, because I fucking
Love
suck.
I kind of. This seems bad, but like almost wish he had died a little bit.
I wish he would have died too. That would have been great.
Like not in like a mean way, but because it's like that was his moment of realizing like worth dying for something. Like
I wish
well,
he
it
would have been
was,
brought to the brink of death, and then they just.
but I just lived again. He didn't even get like hit. Kind of like
No, he didn't, because he was fucking hiding the entire fight.
I think he might have gotten a scraped knee at one point.
Yeah, because he fell
So-
down when they were trying to run away from the White Walkers. While he was
I think the other problem that was like glaring obvious was the fact that they were overrun by a ton of walkers. Everyone was dying, and by the luckiest chance, all the main characters lived through all of it
Yeah.
without too much damage. It was like it seemed a really biggest problem I have is like it seemed really forced and obvious that they were trying to save the main characters.
Yeah.
The part of that for me that made me laugh the most, and I did this in the Endgame thing, so this is like a little bit of an Endgame spoiler, but there's a scene in Endgame.
What is your problem, okay? Good lord. We're on the in-game fucking spoiler thing, and you're all like, oh, I got a Game of Thrones spoiler. Now we're on a Game of Thrones spoiler. You're like, I got an in-game spoiler.
Like it's like the exact same scene happened where Spider-Man is kill mode laying on a pile of guys, just like stabbing wildly. There's a scene where Samwell is laying on a pile of corpses, just going like, just
No.
stabbing around him because everyone that's died has come back to life and he can't get up. And I'm like, how has no one just stabbed this guy? He's literally crying and laying on the ground, flailing, and no one can get their act together.
That was the hardest. That was literally the hardest part in the show for me. was because I love Sam so much. I do not want Sam to die. I love Sam. Watching Jon Snow run past him and not stop to save him because he had to save Bran, and it's because I don't like Bran. So I was like, you motherfucker. You chose Bran over Sam? How fucking dare you? I was so fucking upset, but I mean, it makes sense. It's his fucking brother. But I was like, how fucking dare you? I was so upset.
Oh, no, okay. You brought this up, and that was like one of my favorite sequences.
I'm so dumb.
That run through the castle was awesome.
Yeah,
that was like, that was the point where I was like tense, and I was like, oh man, this is like really scary. And I was like, kind of thought Jon Snow was gonna die. And then, like at the end, when you're like waiting for Arya to kill the Night King for 45 minutes, while they're slow motioning for 3 years to just show Samwell crying on a pile of dead people, and show basically Brienne of Tarth just spinning her sword around, decapitating guys like it's easy at this point, you know, because they're just like standing there waiting to die. And then you get the part where he's like pinned down by Dragonfire. Same shot like 4 times. Yeah. Where he like stands up and then runs away and then stands up and then runs away and then stands up and then runs away. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I get what you're doing. This should have been 10 minutes shorter. Because I'm just waiting for art. They're like doing like the slow, like the Night King like walks slowly up to Bran. And he, like, lifts his finger, like, I'm gonna kill you! And it's, like, right next to his eyeball. It looked like a high school play where someone forgot to come in, and you just have to hold the line where you're supposed to get interrupted. You know, he's, like, waiting for Arya to, like, jump at him, like, I'm gonna kill him now! In 3, 2... 1.5, 1.25, 1.5. You know, it's like, we get it. John's not gonna get there. We get it.
Yeah, I literally was watching it. I was like, the moment he ran into the dragon, I was like, he's not getting past dragon. That's not happening. Like literally, the moment he walked out.
Exactly.
I was like, he's not gonna do it. Like,
you knew as soon as the dragon was there,
I was like,
that he wasn't gonna make it in time.
I was like, they literally make him finesse his way around this dragon and kill it and get to the Night King. People are gonna call bullshit. No one is gonna be like, this totally happened legitimately. There's no fucking way.
He would have had to run through hundreds of White Walkers, and, like, well, the actual White Walkers and the Whites.
Now that would have been a great parody episode, like to literally see him kill this dragon, run through this exact trail that these White Walker generals had made, get all the way out there, and then the White Walker just turn back and look at him, and John be like, 1 second. I gotta kill a dragon. Just 1 second. Oh, sorry, by the way, your dragon's dead, but whew. Fuck. Man, that was a run. Holy shit, guys. Like, you guys did a great job. Like, I think to make it here on time. Holy shit. Woo. I mean, you could have just not been a coward and fought me out there, but no, you had to be an asshole and make me come all the way through here. Oh, that would have been great. That would have been fantastic. But that was my main upset was, like, I really wanted to see a one-on-one fight out there between Jon and the Night King. Like, I was so excited for that because, once again, it got spoiled for me that they were going to lose. So I thought that's where it was happening. I was like, I'm ready for this fucking showdown. Like, whenever they did the dragon fire and he didn't die, I was like, he's walking away smirking right now, but you have no idea Jon's pulling out Long Claw. This shit's about to fucking go down. And then nothing happened. I was like, God damn it. I was so excited. I was like, I'm ready to see Jon fucking decapitate this motherfucker. Like, it has been a long time coming, sir. A long time coming. But
I do like how dorky he looked chasing after him, too. Because he was, like, awkwardly far away.
Oh, yeah.
But he couldn't be like, hey, stop, we're gonna duel. So he's, like, having to, like, shuffle towards him. And he's like, quit walking so fast. He's, like, taking forever to catch up. Yeah. And then he just, like, turns around and he's like, are you chasing me? Like, just raise an army, I guess.
Yeah, he was trying to be quiet about it, too, so he didn't, like, fucking catch him up. And then he just turned around like, the fuck? And then Jon's like, shit, my cover's gone. Where's Arya?
I would have much rather stabbed him in the back than in the front.
Yeah. pull a Jamie. Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie, the person that really saved the 7 realms and then was hated for it forever by the Starks. Anyways.
Jamie
Okay, well, Cody rated this. Kelsey, you have to rate.
No.
Kelsey, give it a 4 like you know you should.
Say what you
I'm not
actually
rating
think
this.
about it. It doesn't matter.
She
what...
went on like a fucking 15-minute spree of what she thought
did.
about it. What else do you need?
No.
I need
I'm not
to
rating
know.
this.
I need to know what the number is for you.
I'm not giving you a number. I'm not. I don't have
Chris,
one.
what is
I
your
can't.
rating?
Oh man, like I feel like I would be doing myself. I mean, if I don't give it like the same rating I gave Age of Ultron, like I'm just lying to myself. I enjoyed so many parts of this episode, but the fact that there were basically 0 consequences, and that could be due to my own bias, because I gave 2 shits about Jorah, and I gave 0 shits about fucking Theon. Like,
no one did. No one cared about those guys.
I mean, there were some people that argued with me that fucking Theon was making a comeback. I fucking disagreed. Theon was a fucking douchebag from the start and all the way to the end. But I will say, like, Jon didn't die, Ghost didn't die. If Sam didn't die,
Ghost didn't even die. Oh,
no, Ghost didn't die. Yeah, Ghost didn't die.
he escaped somehow, just like Jorah did.
Yeah, that one threw me for a loop. I was like, I hope Ghost comes back, and then we see Jorah come riding in. And I'm like, really, bro?
All that to me means is Jorah chickened out.
I don't even think.
And then he was like,
I don't think he.
"My horse got tired. I'm gonna slow down."
Yeah, because he came
You
back
Rex?
like breathing really heavy. I think he literally showed up, saw all the Dothraki get killed, and turned right back around and just came back. And then he's like, well, fuck, I gotta make it seem convincing. So as soon as he got like within eyesight, he was like, oh my god.
Punched himself in the face a few times,
Yeah,
like
while he was riding
a
back,
little
he was
bit.
hitting himself. He even took like a fucking like sword to like the side of his face and kind of cut his cheek a little bit. Was like, oh, you should have seen it. I fucking killed like 200. I barely made it out of there. Oh man. But anyways,
So your rating.
my rating, like I said, a lot of my favorite people survived, so that definitely throws it up the fucking chart.
Are we actually gonna get a rating? How?
I mean, I feel like I said, a lot of my people survived, so that should throw it up the chart for me. But that's the same reason on why it's down the chart, is because there were
Oh my
literally
gosh.
no consequences, and like nobody I cared about died. So, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna have to throw this like, I won't give it Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was like a fucking 2. I enjoyed this episode more than a 2. I'll give it a solid 5.5. I'll put it
I don't
right in the
believe
middle.
you.
Huh? You don't believe me about what?
You're giving it a 5.
You don't believe that I've given it a 5? Or you don't believe that I liked it?
Believe that anyone could give it a 5 or lower.
I gave it a 4 or a 3.
Give it a 7.
No, well, I said like as a standalone,
I mean,
it was okay.
if
Like
Sam,
if I didn't know any of the characters,
if Sam
know.
is alive,
I'm
then
very
it's a
surprised. I
6.5.
think you guys are haters. I
But
think
if
you
Sam
built
is
it up
dead,
with
it's a
expectations in your
5.5.
head, and I don't understand.
I mean, you could like the
Expectations have
episode.
made it
That's fine.
so low.
I'm okay with you liking the episode. The only reason you like the episode is because Daenerys and both of her dragons are still alive. If
No,
it
that's not
wasn't
the
for
only reason
that-
I liked the episode.
I
I
mean,
thought it
it's
was
a
very
huge
well
improvement.
done. I thought that the only bad thing was the fact that they didn't kill off main characters,
and
but
I
I
said
also
that.
expected them to not do that.
I put it this way: if I had a chance to, or if I had somebody sit me down and said, out of all of the battles, which one are you gonna watch? This would be pretty low on my list to watch again. I would
Yeah.
watch the Battle of the Bastards 1,000
yeah, I was gonna say the
times.
Battle of the Bastards
Before
felt
watching
so
this.
much more brutal and so much more hopeless before like the Vale rode in when they're trapped behind the walls and Jon is
Yeah.
suffocating
Yeah.
and just like waiting to get stabbed or just get trampled to death. Like that felt terrifying and brutal.
Yeah.
And they also didn't kill off every single one of them so they could just have little pockets of like their heroes just
Once
spinning
again,
their swords around.
I will say this too, though. In Bree's defense, this episode would probably be a lot higher for me if I didn't know the outcome of it going into it. Without being spoiled for me, like, it was really hard for me to be really excited. Once again, I didn't know who was gonna die, but I knew for a fact the White Walkers lost, so I was like, I knew things were gonna be okay. At least at the end, because I had the same feeling you said you did, Bree, where you knew Jon and Daenerys weren't gonna die. And Jon is my favorite character.
I was so worried that they could kill him off. I mean, I was worried.
I had
can't predict anything.
I had literally, without a doubt, that there was no way either one of those two were going to die. I saw everybody else. Legitimately, I literally saw the White Walker walking up and just shanking Bran in a wheelchair for like 50 times before I saw Jon or Daenerys taking a fucking sword. Like, I just didn't see that happening.
That's kind of a question I have. Is that the satisfying ending we think they're going to go for? Is just that, like, Jon and Dany become the king and queen of the Seven Realms, and it's just like
I don't
win.
Like that. They're related. I don't like that outcome. Like, I don't think that fits in their characters. I don't think Jon and Daenerys are going to be okay ruling as a married couple, knowing that they're related. I don't see that.
You do know that is like the Targaryen thing, right?
I get that, but I just don't see Daenerys being okay with that. I don't see her moving on, being like, you know what, fucking incest, let's get it. Like, I don't see that happening. Like, ever since that he said that, like, there's definitely been a shift change. Like, they still care about each other, but there's definitely been a shift change. Like, I haven't seen like an ounce of romance between the two of them since that's happened.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they've been busy.
I mean,
but I don't necessarily disagree.
If it was like me and my loved one, and like we're probably going to fucking die, like there would have been something. Like, there would have been something.
Well, and I think like in Dany's.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
We
lie.
had sex.
You cut out half of that, so you're gonna have to run that one back.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like, what Dany said when she found out was not, "Oh shoot, we're related." It's, "Oh shoot, you have a claim to the throne." Like, she doesn't care. It didn't feel like she cared. Like, oh, like I had an intimate relationship with nephew, cousin, nephew. I don't remember which one. It was. He's technically more king than I am. Like, by the rules that I have set up in my own head, he has a better claim to the throne than I do. That's what she was thinking. Which, again, is why I think she should not be the queen of anything. But, yeah, I guess I just wonder what the end of the show is. And if it is just that, it's like, I don't know. It's like, I feel like Game of Thrones was a show built on subverting what we assume fantasy is, what we assume these, like, kind of power fantasy shows are. And if it's just, like, Daenerys, the person who's, like, an egomaniac, she's right to be an egomaniac. Like, well, that's not... Like, I really do hope they do the thing where she just melts the Iron Throne. Like, that's my hope now, is, like, actually have her break the cycle of having these kingdoms and ruling in this way, and forego that rule that she has wanted for so long because she realizes how dangerous. If they do that, it's going to win me over. If they don't, I'm just like, I don't care then.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it here. It's getting kind of late on our end. So, I will go ahead and end this out with, obviously, our ratings. Bree gave it a 10. Cody gave it a 7/4. I gave it a 5.5. If Sam's still alive, 6.5. And Kelsey gave it a 1. Man.
Kelsey gave it an A.
No, she didn't give it anything. Yeah. That's fair. She made her case on what she thought about the episode. I agree with a lot of what she said. But, that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this here. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed this review of the episode. So that way you can also turn on that notification button and get notified for next week's episode review all the way until Game of Thrones is over. We're doing it every single week. And hit us up in the comment section below. Let us know your rating for the episode, what your favorite part was, and who you were excited died, if you were excited that anybody died, which there wasn't that many people. And if you wanted someone specifically to die and why you wanted them to die. That would have been pretty cool, too. But, good episode. Cool. Bye, guys.